On the night of July 12, 1943, the waters of the Pacific Ocean turned a deep black, resembling ink spreading across the surface. On the bridge of the destroyer USS Gwin, which was ninth in a chain of 13 Allied ships, stood Lieutenant Commander John Benjamin. His gaze was fixed ahead on the flickering silhouette in the darkness as it cut through the damp, thick night. Inside the ship, a stifling heat prevailed, seeping below deck, forcing the crew to endure unbearable temperatures and seek any cool breeze on the upper deck, where the air was slightly fresher. None of them suspected that these were their last hours aboard what they considered their home, their second land. They did not know that at the moment their ships were passing through the waters of Kula Bay, powerful Japanese forces lurked in the shadows, ready to strike. In this area operated 4 transport vessels, accompanied by a light cruiser and 5 destroyers armed with deadly long-lance torpedoes. These torpedoes were considered among the most dangerous weapons of the time, and even the most experienced crews had very little chance of success against them. At that moment, USS Gwin confidently moved toward its fateful encounter with destiny, unaware that heavy trials awaited it ahead. This was the first battle at Guadalcanal after the Americans' victory at Midway, which had occurred in late spring of 1942. The Solomon Islands became the next crucial battlefield in the Pacific, where destinies clashed for control and dominance. Control over these islands meant mastery over key supply routes, as well as creating conditions necessary for further Allied offensive operations. For General MacArthur, who was advancing north to halt the Japanese offensive and defend his positions, losing the Solomon Islands would mean a direct path to success against the Japanese and an opportunity to approach their homeland. By August 7th, nearly 20,000 U.S. Marines had landed on the coasts of Guadalcanal and Tulagi, capturing the Japanese airfield, which was soon renamed Henderson Field. This airfield was only about 350 miles from the Japanese base in Rabaul, making it a strategically vital point. The capture of the airfield provoked a response from Japan. They secretly prepared retaliatory measures, moving ships through the narrow channel at night. Meanwhile, the Japanese Empire launched its efforts to protect its interests by sending an operational group to Henderson Field, called the Tokyo Express. It included an operational unit commanded by Rear Admiral Daniel Callahan, tasked with intercepting Japanese supply lines and hindering their advance. In response, Japanese Vice Admiral Hiroaki Abo, under Admiral Isoku Yamamoto's orders, prepared an advanced detachment of 12,000 men to defend the landing and to initiate the first naval battle at the Guadalcanal. It was midnight when, at 1 o'clock on November 13th, this operational group entered the Iron Bottom Sound, after American radar detected their approach. Within an hour, fierce fighting broke out at very close range, with both sides engaging in close-quarters combat, where the exchange of fire was particularly intense. American ships suffered heavy losses. The aircraft carriers Atlanta and San Francisco were seriously damaged, losing Captain Cassin Young and Rear Admiral Daniel Callahan. At the same time, 2 light cruisers, Atlanta and Juneau, departed the battle, carrying many casualties and wounded. The fate of the Henderson Field ship now rested in the hands of the combat unit, commanded by Rear Admiral Willis Augustus Lee Jr. This operational force included 2 powerful battleships, the USS Washington and USS South Dakota, as well as 4 destroyers, USS W. Benham, USS Preston, USS Gwin, and USS Gwin. Each of these ships was ready for immediate combat, feeling the full responsibility for their lives and the success of the entire operation. The destroyer USS Gwin, belonging to the Glaze class, stood out particularly, holding a special place in history as the 3rd U.S. Navy ship to bear the name of Lieutenant Commander William Gwin. This officer gained fame during the American Civil War and left a notable mark on naval history. The vessel was commissioned in January 1941 and had since served in the service of the American Armed Forces. Like its sister ships, USS Gwin was 348 feet long, approximately 152 meters. Its standard displacement was about 16,500 tons, and its crew consisted of roughly 11 officers and 2,011 enlisted men. This destroyer was armed very powerfully and modern for its time. It carried 5 twin 5-inch Mark 12 guns, versatile weapons capable of engaging both sea and land targets. The ship was also equipped with 5 twin 40mm anti-aircraft guns designed for defense against aircraft, and 10 21-inch torpedo tubes, allowing it to strike enemy vessels at a distance. Additionally, USS Gwin had a range of about 6,500 nautical miles, enabling it to stay at sea for extended periods, and its maximum speed exceeded 37 knots, making it a very fast and maneuverable vessel. However, the most valuable and important asset of the destroyer was its command. Leading the crew was Captain John Phelps, an experienced, skilled, and decisive commander. His career began as an engineer in 1940, and he quickly rose through the ranks. In the end, at the beginning of 1942, he took the position of commanding officer of the ship. His professionalism and composure in critical situations made him one of the most respected commanders in the fleet. In April 1942, USS Gwin joined the so-called Doolittle Raid, accompanying the aircraft carrier USS Hornet for the air attack on Tokyo, which took place in May of the same year. This raid became a symbol of the determination and courage of American servicemen. Soon after, the destroyer was sent with the Marine Corps to support the defense of Midway Island, but arrived too late to participate in the main battle. Instead, he helped rescue the crew of the damaged aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, saving 102 crew members after the tragic sinking of USS Hammond. This heroic act marked the beginning of his reputation as a ship capable of heroic rescues, even in the most difficult moments. During the battles in the Pacific, USS Gwin was anchored in Aspira Harbor on Sano Island, where it delivered supplies and provided anti-aircraft support to the Marines defending the important Henderson Field airstrip. Although at that moment the ship had not yet engaged in combat, its task was to provide support and protect its comrades. At that time, its guns had not yet opened fire in battle. Everything foreshadowed the impending conflict. All of this was destined to change on the night of November 13, 1942, when the operational group under Admiral Lee's command encountered the Japanese fleet near Savo Island. That night, they delivered a new powerful blow, and this time the events were so tense and dramatic that Gwin and her combat comrades found themselves at the very center of the fighting. It all happened on the eve of a significant date, November 15th, when fate could be decided in this fierce clash. The destroyers, including Gwin, were moving across the sea in a column protected and supported by ships of the American fleet. At that moment, the Japanese fleet was visible to them, spotted near Savo Island at midnight, and this discovery marked the beginning of a bloody confrontation. Observers from the American ships saw 2 large cruisers in the distance, although their outlines were so distant and blurred that it was almost impossible to determine the exact location and nature of the ships. The distance between them and our destroyers was about 14,000 yards, a very long way, and even at such a distance, the Japanese ships appeared as faint silhouettes on the horizon. At that moment, the Americans decided to open fire. They cocked their guns, and the first shots exploded into the night silence. At 2:19 a.m., the USS South Dakota broke the silence, unleashing thunderous roars like rolling thunder. And the other ships, following orders, mimicked her example, beginning to illuminate the enemy with bright flashes of fire. At this moment, Gwin fired 2 bright, star-like shells into the night sky. These dazzling flashes instantly illuminated the positions of the enemy cruisers and, although only for a brief moment, provided an opportunity to determine their exact locations. Then the ship's crew fired 2 salvos from the anti-aircraft guns. They knew that at such a distance, the damage would be minimal, and these shots were most likely aimed not so much to inflict real harm as to distract the enemy, throw it off balance, and complicate targeting. At this point, the battle was becoming increasingly intense, and Gwin, along with 3 other destroyers, engaged in a fierce firefight with the Japanese light cruiser Nagara and 2 destroyers named Ayanami and Uranami. Everything was happening very quickly. This bloody clash ended in just 27 minutes. Captain Foles later noted in his ship's log that one of the Japanese cruisers on the starboard side was engulfed in flames. Meanwhile, other ships apparently began to retreat, fearing loss of control, but the American fleet continued fighting. At this time, unfortunately, one of the American submarines, Benham, was on fire and suffered a breakdown, forcing it to withdraw from action. Simultaneously, Preston and Gwin continued firing at targets, hiding behind the shadows of Savo Island. In the darkness, Gwin's shells found their target, the Japanese cruiser Ayanami, reducing its combat capability to a single gun. Suddenly, the Japanese ship aimed its guns at the American destroyer and fired a 47-inch shell directly into the forward starboard engine room of Gwin, causing a powerful steam explosion and chaos on board. Flames erupted just hundreds of yards from Preston's bow, and an explosion shook Gwin's hull, nearly knocking the crew off their stations. At that moment, the Japanese cruiser Ayanami struck back. As a result, 6 men near the command post were killed, and the engine room filled with hot steam, forcing the crew to hurriedly abandon their positions. Smoke and fog filled the deck. The lights went out. It seemed the battle would soon be over. But when emergency lighting was activated, Gwin and the other ships retreated, ready to deliver a final blow to Henderson Field. At this moment, a Japanese observer spotted a ship in the darkness in South Dakota. It was Washington. It appeared on the horizon like a ghost, signaling that the enemy was not going to surrender without a fight. A torpedo wave, whistling and roaring, headed toward the American ships, and in response, a thunderous salvo rang out, powerful and deafening, like the roll of thunder. The Americans responded with fire, turning their guns toward the enemy, creating a dense barrier intended to halt the threat. In this battle, Kondo's ship, leading the fight, capsized, and nearly 200 sailors on board either died or were wounded. But before the ship sank, Admiral E.S. managed to escape on another vessel to continue the fight. When morning came, the battlefield was silent, covered with burning debris and remnants of the fight. Despite severe damage, one of the destroyers, the Gwin, was left with only one operational engine, and although battered, was less damaged than the others. After an unsuccessful attempt to tow it to a safe location in Baker-Benyam, the ship was forced to stop and wait for assistance. Commander Fells, the ship's captain, decided to lead his destroyer over more than 5,000 miles to reach May Island, where repairs were planned. This long and perilous journey ended with the commander being awarded the honorary title of Navy Cross, despite the fact that this very ship played a crucial role in ensuring the safety of Henderson Field. This episode became one of the significant turning points in the Pacific Theater, a testament to the resilience and courage of the commanders and sailors. The voyage of USS Gwin, despite all the hardships, was far from over. After extensive repairs carried out in the spring of 1943, the ship returned to combat. It continued patrolling the coast of New Georgia as part of Operational Unit Number 3283. At that time, the ship was ready for new combat operations, particularly the Allied offensive on Renova Island. On June 19th of the same year, Gwin joined a group of ships tasked with cover operations as part of the operation codenamed Wheel. At that moment, the ships provided fire support to assist the landing of American troops on the shore. Japanese coastal batteries located along the coast offered strong resistance and launched a counterattack, resulting in minor losses among American forces. However, by noon, thanks to the coordinated efforts of the destroyer's gunners, 3 enemy bombers were shot down, which significantly helped secure the captured beachhead. Using the island of Renova, seized from the Japanese, Gwin joined another operational group tasked with intercepting Japanese reinforcements in Kula Bay. Early on July 5th, the Japanese launched their first strike against American positions, sinking the USS Strong. At that moment, the ship's crew under Commander Foll's command rescued 5 survivors from the sunken vessel, and despite losing their own ship, they returned to base that same evening. Soon after, a fierce battle broke out in Kula Bay. Within minutes, American fire destroyed the Japanese destroyer Izuki, which was at the center of the attack. However, the Japanese did not surrender and responded again, focusing all their fury and strength on the light cruiser USS Helena. This ship, heavily damaged and besieged from 3 sides, ultimately slipped beneath the waves and sank in the early morning hours. On July 11th, on a day when the sun was just beginning to rise above the horizon, our hero joined a combat group called Task Force 361. This group included himself and 9 other destroyers, as well as larger warships, the cruisers Honolulu and St. Louis, along with the New Zealand Lander cruiser. All these ships, under the command of Rear Admiral Walton Landsworth, were moving as part of a united formation, ready to carry out a critical mission. After midnight, on the night of July 12th to 13th, At this very hour, our lieutenant commanders aboard the USS Gwin occupied the 9th position in a long chain of 13 combat vessels. That night, the group entered Kula Bay, a strategically vital area where the struggle for control and security was unfolding. Their task was to protect the landing forces that had been ashore on the northern coast of New Georgia Island just a few days earlier. These amphibious operations were part of a broader campaign to support Allied forces and hinder the Japanese reinforcements' advance. At that very moment, in the dark night near Kolombangara, Allied ships also provided support and cover to stop Japanese troops from strengthening their positions. Simultaneously, accompanied by the cruiser Jinsu and 5 destroyers, over 1,000 Japanese soldiers moved through a narrow strait toward Kolombangara Island, heading for the so-called Point V, an important strategic location. Initially, Commander Answorth was confident that his superiority and surprise would catch the Japanese off guard. He hoped that his fully assembled convoy could pass unnoticed. However, he did not know that the Japanese convoy, under Vice Admiral Shinji Isaki, was fully aware of the approaching American ships. Their reconnaissance and radio signals allowed the Japanese to prepare for the encounter. At the moment when the battle was just beginning, the dark, almost ink-black night still reigned, and it was in this gloom that a scene unfolded which would later become famous in naval history. American destroyers, demonstrating determination and precision, opened fire on the Japanese ships, launching torpedoes and firing 5-inch guns. At the center of the action was the USS Gwin, positioned directly in front of the cruiser Honolulu. Meanwhile, Japanese destroyers, holding their breath, waited for their moment, analyzing the situation and calculating their moves. When Commander Answorth began to deploy his formation, the Japanese launched a well-coordinated attack with 31 Lance-type torpedoes directed at the American ships. At that moment, as Honolulu, St. Louis, and Gwin aimed their guns at the Japanese vessels, they found themselves directly in the path of a dangerous torpedo attack. As a result, both cruisers sustained severe damage. Their hulls were pierced, and they were hit by powerful explosions. Yet both ships managed to continue fighting and remained afloat. The destroyer of the Gleaves class had less luck. At 2 o'clock in the morning, Commander Fells sharply turned right to avoid an approaching torpedo. But a few minutes later, his ship, named Long Spear, was struck on the port side. Debris shot into the air, soaring dozens of feet upward. As a result of this devastating hit, the steering gear, engine room, and all radio transmitters were knocked out, despite a powerful explosion. Fire crews trapped amidst flames and thick smoke fought to extinguish the blaze and save the ship. Meanwhile, 3 Allied cruisers, along with their escorts, such as the Bew, eventually managed to retreat from the battlefield and escape enemy pursuit. Their luck was significant, as after heavy fighting, they managed to avoid total destruction and preserve part of their forces. At the same time, amid these events, a landing of 2,120 soldiers took place on VSA Island, marking an important step in the struggle for control over this strategically vital area. This operation followed the tragic loss of the heroic USS Gwin, which was sunk in battle while defending its comrades and fulfilling its duty. Later, Admiral Answorth, commander of the naval group, sent an important and heartfelt message to his comrades in arms. In it, he expressed his deep sorrow and pride in their bravery. He stated that his heart was filled with grief over the loss of the Arwen, which showed heroism in a fierce fight against terrible enemies. Despite this loss, he noted that the forces of the unit once again demonstrated resilience and skill, achieving victory by sinking between 4 and 6 Japanese ships. These words testified to the high combat effectiveness and cohesion of the crew, who were able not only to lose a ship, but also to continue fighting. The Admiral expressed his sincere gratitude and deep respect to each officer and sailor of this unit for their outstanding combat capabilities and leadership, which played a decisive role in destroying several Japanese vessels. He emphasized that these actions were especially important during the intense 7-hour battles, when every decision and action mattered for the outcome of the fight. True resilience and professionalism were evident in their victory. Commander John B. Fells was awarded the Silver Star, one of the highest military honors for valor. Afterward, he no longer commanded in battle, as he was assigned to command the newly commissioned training ship USS Twig. In this capacity, he continued to serve, participating in training new personnel and supporting future operations. During the second battle at the Channel Gua, along with other ships, he helped crush Japan's ambitions to regain control over this area, marking an important stage in the fight for the liberation of Henderson Field. These successes finally brought an end to the constant threat from the enemy, and control over the territory was transferred to the Americans. After months of fierce fighting, the waters around the Solomon Islands were finally under full Allied control. During this difficult and bloody period, the destroyer USS Gwin repeatedly became a lifeline for its comrades. It rescued crews from sunken ships, protected advancing troops, and covered the landing of assault forces. Its role was very important and multifaceted. It was constantly at the heart of the action, demonstrating heroism and self-sacrifice. However, despite its bravery and tireless service, in the final moments of its life, USS Gwin was unable to save itself. According to one of its crew members, the ship was excellent, reliable, and powerful, but it lived under conditions of constant deprivation and hardship. "We knew it lived on the edge," said one sailor, emphasizing that the ship, like its crew, existed in tough conditions, constantly struggling for survival. At that time on the Solomon Islands, amidst constant dangers and brutal battles, we all felt exactly the same, exhausted but unbroken, ready to continue fighting despite everything.